I can see that our mathematics colleagues are arriving right now. Thank you for joining us. And we are going to dive right in, actually. I'd like to introduce Kenny Nguyen. He is our mathematics department chair.
Thanks, Elaine. I'm just going to go around and just ask my colleagues to introduce themselves. I guess I'll start since you introduced me. Hi, everyone. I'm Kenny Nguyen. I am the upper school math department chair. I have been at Catlin Gable since 2012, and this year I am teaching Honors Calculus 1 and also a statistics class. I'm just going to actually just ask my colleagues to unmute and introduce themselves.
I'll go. So I'm Kathy. I've been at Catlin Gable for 25 years. It's my 25th year, so quite a long time. And I currently teach a variety of Algebra 2 and pre-calculus classes. And one of my favorite things about those two classes is the opportunities for students to explore topics of their choice tied to the mathematics and seeing what they come up with. Catlin Gable is all about being lifelong learners, and I have found that even in my 25 years here, I am always constantly learning either from the students or from my colleagues. The other thing I love to do is outdoor ed trips with the students. So I've done a lot of ski bus with students and traveling around the world and backpacking and rafting and things like that. And it's great to get to know the students on an entirely different level.
I can go next. My name is Tyler Reuter. This is my second year at Catlin. This year I'm teaching honors statistics and geometry. And the two things I love about that course, I kind of love the creativity and the visual aspect of geometry. And then for honors stats, definitely just the application of it and how you can really allow students to dive deeper into taking the concepts we're learning into just exploring topics of their interest and better understanding those topics.
I'll go. I am Tracy, and I started teaching at Catlin in 2011, and I am currently just teaching calculus, but I've taught Algebra 1, Algebra 2, geometry, pre-calc, and calculus, and I've taught in both public and private schools, and I love Catlin because I love my colleagues. I love how everybody's pushing each other to be better teachers. And I love my students who also push me to be a better teacher. And the thing that I love most, though, about everybody is that I'm not just being pushed professionally, but also personally to support each other more and to care about each other more in different ways. And I've just learned a lot about that here at Catlin, and I really appreciate that.
I'm Andy Raffel, and this is my first year at Catlin Gable. I was at Lincoln High School last year, and I'm teaching geometry and honors advanced math seminar this year. So I'm teaching geometry along with Tyler, and it's a cool class where we get to do projects. You'll see an example of that soon, an activity that we designed. And you get to just kind of be a little more free with geometry. And then Honors Advanced Math Seminar is even more so that way, where we're actually covering a topic that I didn't do until my junior year of college. It was discrete mathematics. It's from the IB Further Math curriculum. And we just have a group of 7 really motivated students taking that class. And it's just a lot of fun to teach that group.
I guess I'll go next. Hi, I'm Jim Wysocki, and if any of you have been around since the beginning, I was here for computer science as well, because I am half-time in computer science and half-time in the math department. I have been at Catlin since 2010, so this is my 11th year at the school. I have also taught in public and private schools before that. This year in math, I'm teaching Honors Calc 2 and a section of our pre-calculus class. And on top of that, I also teach for the Global Online Academy, where I teach several other math classes: number theory, linear algebra, and multivariable calculus. As far as the courses I teach at Catlin, I love pre-calculus for many of the reasons that Kathy mentioned, the applications that we ask students to do and giving them options to see how what we're doing in that class relates to things that they're interested in. Those are some of my favorite parts of that particular course. And Honors Calc 2, you just take a group of really motivated, engaged, excited students and just let them fly. And it's fun to watch what they're able to do. And sometimes more than they thought they could do. And then they look back and they go, wow, that was actually pretty easy. And that's always a fun time. So thank you very much for being here.
I'm Erin, and this is my first year at Catlin Gable, also like Andy. Before coming to Portland, I was teaching at an independent school in Minnesota called the Blake School. And here at Catlin, I'm teaching Honors Algebra 2 and Pre-Calculus. And both of those classes are kind of fun because they're part of the like traditional math sequence. And so they're a really great opportunity to continue learning and to see new applications and new ways of connecting ideas that you might have seen before in middle school or in previous math classes, but then being able to look at them a different way and put them together to continue developing and learning and seeing how math can connect to the real world in really like interesting or beautiful ways. And I'm really excited to be here. And so far, Catlin seems like a really special place. And even though I have only really experienced it through this lens of online learning and global pandemic, it's clearly a place where student well-being is put front and center. And so we spend lots of meeting time talking about like the best way we can support students like in our classes, but also outside of our classes through whatever we can.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Derek Kenerak. This is my third year at Catlin Gable after 13 years at Newark Academy, a school much like Catlin Gable in northern New Jersey. This year, I'm teaching Algebra 1B to ninth graders, in addition to my leadership role as upper school academic dean. I would say my favorite parts of Algebra 1B are getting to help students build their confidence, while also building their foundation of skills for all the things they'll need to do for success in all the wonderful classes you just heard about from my colleagues. They get to explore a range of functions and get to explore real world situations and really cool and intriguing problems along the way. And also do it with a lot of joy. That's another big goal of ours as well.
Thanks, everyone. Chris, do I have permission to share my screen?
Yes, you do, Kenny.
Excellent. So I'm just gonna talk really briefly for just about 5 minutes to give everybody an overview of the program. And let's see here, I think I'm sharing.
You're sharing, we can see it.
Okay, thank you, Aline. So I just wanted to give just a quick 5-minute overview of the program, and then my colleagues Tracy and Andy have a couple of really exciting tasks to show you, so you can see some of the types of mathematical thinking that our students engage in, and then the rest of the time will be for Q&A. So just really quickly in my presentation, I just want to talk you through our instructional philosophy, give you an idea of the courses that are in our curriculum and the courses that our students typically take as they go through our upper school trajectory, and then just opportunities that we have for students to grow as mathematicians in our program. Our program is kind of rooted with what we call kind of 4 main anchoring items. We really strive, as Kathy was saying, to develop lifelong learners, and part of that is really to develop their ability to creatively problem solve. We want them to do that with curiosity and perseverance, and we want them to be able to collaborate with their peers, and then not just to kind of keep the knowledge for themselves, but then be able to communicate that out. This is our PS12 math instructional philosophy, and so this is what we believe not only in the upper school, but throughout a student's entire trajectory at Catlin Gable. And so I'll just read this to you. The Catlin Gable math program develops students who are joyful and creative problem solvers that approach challenging mathematics with curiosity and perseverance. Through independent effort, communication, and collaboration, students investigate and analyze problems flexibly, construct their understanding of mathematical concepts, and develop the skills and strategies to pursue current and future endeavors. And I was just kind of here for the tail end of the science presentation. And I would say, throughout the entire Catlin Gable curriculum, not just in mathematics, we're really trying to develop students who are going in depth. They are solving problems creatively, and really with perseverance, we find that to be something that we really want to work with students on, not just to, and that's not to say that being able to apply a procedure isn't important, but we really want them to really dig into the mathematics. And especially that part about doing it in a collaborative manner through communication, we think is really, really important. And hopefully you'll see through some of the presentations tonight how we do that. Typically, the students go through our math program. Most of our students start in geometry, although we do have an Algebra 1B class for students who come in and need a little bit more time to develop some of those algebra skills. Students typically go through Algebra 1B, Geometry, Algebra 2, Pre-Calculus. And then after pre-calculus, we have a number of further math electives for students to take. So students will often take Calculus 1, Calculus 2. We have 2 levels of statistics. We are also partnered with the Global Online Academy, and students are open anytime during their math trajectory after pre-calculus to take courses in number theory, linear algebra, and then for students who have finished Calculus 1, there's a multivariable calculus class. And as Andy was saying, we also have a math seminar. In terms of placement, we really work with you at the beginning of your child's entry into the upper school to really find the course that's going to be at the right level for your child. We want students to be challenged. At the same time, we also don't want them to feel overwhelmed. And so there's a combination of placement testing, getting information from your child's previous schools, and conversations with past teachers that we do. And we like to make it a very collaborative process so that you understand what our criteria are. And also, again, just emphasizing that helping your child be in that class that's going to help them to thrive. After our geometry class, we do have honors and standard level courses. And I just want to say, like, our standard in both courses, we are emphasizing everything in our math philosophy. So students are doing projects, they're collaborating, they're communicating. The honors level are for students who really are kind of naturally curious and exhibit interest in digging in more deeply into the mathematics. The students tend to be a little bit more independent and bring in some student organizational skills. But in general, we want them to solve even more novel and complex problems. And again, as students enter, we work with you to kind of determine what pathway is the best. And as we look through kind of the typical kind of course trajectory for students, most of our students will enter in geometry, and then they'll move on to either Algebra 2 or Honors Algebra 2, Pre-Calc, Honors Pre-Calc. And then in 12th grade, we have a lot of students who will double up. And so we have a lot of students who will take a combination of calculus or statistics or even both. And there are opportunities for students to move between the standard and the honors level class based on their interest, based on their maturity level, and what they want to do. Typically, students will start in geometry, although we have had some students who start in Algebra 2. And I just want to end just by kind of highlighting some of the opportunities for students to kind of grow in our program. We like to say that, we believe in every student's math learning, that every student has opportunities to grow. Math Cafe is our extra help for students. And honestly, students everywhere from Algebra 1B to Honors Calculus 2 are coming. It's just an opportunity for them to get some extra math help. Our students also serve as teaching assistants. And this is anywhere from our, typically they will be in our algebra and geometry classes, although some of our students will TA for statistics or even calculus. We offer the AMC 10 and 12, which we work with students on. And I think the beautiful thing about Catlin Gable is a lot of these competitions, although we're running it as a math program, we also have students leading those math clubs. This year we have 2 math clubs, one that's more focused on those competitions, and one from a student who just wants to have everybody's interest in mathematics promulgated. There are opportunities, since we're a PS12 school, to do cross-divisional collaboration. We have students often who will go down and help out in the lower and middle schools. I mentioned the GOA courses before. And I think the last thing that I think is really awesome about our program is that communication part. In all of our classes, students are really exhibiting their student learning. So examples of this in the past have been poster sessions that we hold in our Creative Arts Center. Students have participated in research. They have presented at conferences. And so lots of different ways for students to exhibit their learning. I'd like to turn it over now to Tracy and Andy to share a couple of tasks.
Great, yeah, I'll start with mine first. So let me use share screen over here. All right, so this is, I'm gonna share with you an example of an activity that we're doing that kind of gets at that creative, collaborative communication piece that we're really trying to let students experience at Catlin Gable. And this is an activity we put together for where we explore social distancing and how this applies to geometry. And so it was kind of inspired by standing in a line at, it was at Chipotle, that had a zigzag, and realizing, oh wait, like zigzags, you can fit more people within 6 feet of each other. Rather than just having a straight line, you can zigzag and make a line like fit more people. And so that's kind of what this activity gets at here for students. So this is a scaffolded activity that has a lot of pieces in it. And it's something where students will log into this website Desmos that has all kinds of activities like this, and you can create your own. And this is one that we created here. It takes students through first just looking at a line and, what do you notice or wonder? Then going through this, connecting this to like this geometry piece. So we've been covering the distance formula in geometry class and how you can, tell the distance between 2 points. And as you click on these, it'll ask you to explain your thinking. And once you do that, it'll share with the class and you can see what your classmates have said. And then we go to this piece of like seeing people diagonally, and can you actually tell how far apart they are when you're looking diagonally, and what's like a better way of doing that. And so we get at this idea of how this can get really complicated, finding diagonal distance, but eventually we want to use sort of area of personal space and circles, kind of like this Italian man back in March, who was really making a point here about keeping social distance. So this eventually leads students to get to try to design their own layout over here, where they're using X and Y values to set up centers for their circles. And whoops, I did that wrong. I wanted this to be 18 and this one to be like 6 or 5. There we go. And so they can set up these circles and try to figure out a layout where they can fit this for the restaurant. And this is all leading into a larger thing where we want to explore like blueprints for restaurants and something that's a little bit less, has less support in it, but this kind of gets these ideas fed in. So yeah, so we eventually like examine some different floor plans, and then there's a little moment to, you get to share with the class and then reflect at the end, and then we'll close this up with a class discussion. So this is an example of kind of a more accessible project that has a lot of pieces already built into it that can really help students make sense of it, but also connects what we're doing in class to something really present right now, which is how do you redesign floor plans to keep people socially distanced? And our hope is that students will notice, oh yeah, circles are a good way to think about this. I'll pass it off to Tracy now.
Great, thanks, Andy. So in my calculus class, I want to share with you a problem that is, I think, quite interesting. But if we look at it from the kind of traditional textbook lens, here, give me a second. Sorry, gotta share my iPad with you. This is like the traditional classic textbook problem for calculus. Roger, this real life problem, not contrived at all. Roger's gonna run a marathon and then his friend is collecting data. It's so real life. And if you recall from school, you might remember the formula distance equals rate times time. And I'm gonna use that idea to estimate how far Roger went during this time in the marathon. And And I can say, okay, well, in that first interval, he went 12 miles per hour. And then I'm going to multiply that by how long he was running for that speed. And oh, look at this here. This is in hours and this is in minutes. So I need to convert my time units so that they're the same. So I notice that 15 minutes is a fourth of an hour. So I'll multiply that by a fourth. And, you know, I can go on and I do this and I add them all up until I get to this last one where he went 7 miles an hour, again for a quarter of an hour. And I figure out how far he went. And it's so satisfying because it's so real life. And, you know, and that's kind of like your traditional calculus textbook. And I'm not to say that that's a bad problem, but it's not very interesting, right? And so my esteemed colleague Shannon, who is now a teacher coach here at Catlin, but used to be a member of the math department, took this problem and made it really quite real life. And so let me share with you the problem that we give to the students, which is this. That's the problem. There's no sound, no nothing. It's just Shannon got in the car and from Catlin and drove to her house. And you know, this is it. You just get a view of her speedometer. And then she added on this clock here, so you know how much time has passed. And then we asked the students, where did Shannon go? And so they have to figure out, just from this is all they get. They have to figure out where she has gone. And so you saw that she had the little left turn signal. We tell them Shannon mostly followed the laws, drove safely, you know, used her speedometer, used her turn signal. So the thing though, they have to figure out is, well, you can see the light changing here. So we know that she actually turned left. Sometimes she turned on the turn signal, but it's just because she's changing lanes. So the students have to figure that out. But then they just have to figure out, well, what information do I need, right? Like, so they need to figure out, well, I need that table of values like in the textbook. So, okay, I need to collect that data, you know, how long was she going for that speed? And then they're allowed to use the internet. So, okay, I guess I should figure out which direction she's going. Okay, and if she went for this long in this direction, okay, maybe she's here, right? So now, but just turning that into the video, it's a much more engaging problem. And that's something that I love about working here at Catlin, is that I am allowed to, you know, create these kinds of problems or work in that kind of mode instead. And then like Andy said, that, you know, like in his problem, it was much more stepped out for the students with a lot more questions along the way, because they're at the beginning of their math journey, versus with me at calculus where they're at the end and they have a lot more tools under their belt and where they can just be more free and hopefully get to those conclusions on their own. And so it's exciting to see the students be successful with this kind of thing by the time they get to calculus, and it's lots of fun. So that's all, Kenny.
Thanks, everyone. I think we can move on to the Q&A now.
All right. Would you all like me to ask the questions from the Q&A?
That would be great. Thank you, Mary.
All right. All right. Are there summer math classes that can be taken to get ahead in math?
I can take that. So we don't offer summer math classes at Catlin Gable, but opportunities for acceleration do exist. So students typically will, you know, kind of talk to their classroom teacher, and we kind of want to do it collaboratively. Obviously, you know, taking a year of math over the summer is a difficult endeavor, and we typically recommend that students enjoy their summer. But for students who do want to challenge themselves and do that, we do have placement tests that are available. So students will typically give us a plan for their summer work. We'll approve that plan, and then they'll take a placement test in August to place into the next level math class.
Thank you. All right. What determines if someone gets into an honors class, and maybe a little bit of additional information about what are the various levels?
I wonder if one of my colleagues who's teaching one of the honors classes would.
I'll go ahead and take a stab at that,
Thank
Kenny.
you.
So there's basically what we're looking for. Kenny described it earlier when we talked about what kind of students we look at when they're coming into the school for honors, and the same thing is true throughout the entire program. We're looking for students who exhibit a maturity both mathematically and kind of in terms of their academic work habits and being able to work a little bit more independently. The kinds of questions they're asking, you know, they'll ask the same types of questions as everybody else, but they're going to also spend a little bit more time on the why does that work, or the what if I change this and this happens type of a situation. We look at the entire year. There's no assessment at the end of a year. So for instance, a student in geometry who is interested in going into Algebra 2 honors, it's not a one, like we don't wait till May, give them a test and say, hey, you're an honor student. We really look at the entire course of what they've done throughout geometry. And if necessary, we go back before that. And like what Kenny mentioned about the summer classes, we do try to make that also a collaborative thing. If somebody wants to go into honors and they come to us and they talk to us about it, you know, we can share our insights about their work, and we can suggest to them things that they're doing that look like they make them a great fit for honors, or things that it's like, well, this is what we're seeing right now, and it'd be really great if maybe we could see a little bit more of this other piece. And so we really try to make it a conversation as much as possible between us and the students and their advisors if necessary. And of course, you know, parents are also part of that equation. So so that's what we look at when we're looking at, you know, students who might want to move into honors. And that can happen at any level that students are going into honors. It's not like geometry is not the only place they can do that. You know, if they take Algebra 2 and they want to go to honors pre-calculus, that's an option. If they take pre-calculus and they want to go to honors calculus 1, that's an option. These exist all throughout our program. No one is tracked out of honors at any point. They always have that option of entering after those conversations.
Thanks, Jim. Jim, this might be a question for you as well. It's somebody apologizing for missing the computer science session earlier. What efforts are there to teach artificial intelligence?
Well, in the math department, I will say not much, but I will just mention in the computer science, those are things that would come up in our third and fourth year courses in computer science, where the third year computer science class is basically a lot of student chosen projects. There's a list of things that they can look at, and then Andrew, who teaches that course, will gear the course towards student interest, and artificial intelligence can be one of those pieces. And then students who continue on and take our fourth year computer science also, that's an independent study year, an independent research. So a student who's really interested in artificial intelligence could continue to work on that during that year as well. So
thank you. It's 8:59. Unless there's one more question lingering out there. I don't think so. So thank you, math department. And thank you, Aline. And of course, thank you to those who have been watching throughout the evening. I hope that you took away a really wonderful sense of not only our curriculum, but also our just incredibly talented and passionate and smart and articulate teachers as well. I want to remind you that next week, if you're still wanting some more Catlin Gable, next Tuesday evening, we will focus on our students. And so there will be a student panel where you will be able to ask those students all kinds of whatever questions are on your mind to get the student perspective. And then the following week, we're having a session called Beyond the Classroom. And that will feature a number of different ways that we support students outside of the classroom and help them make connections and feel connected through co-curricular activities, through sports and clubs, as well as the college counseling department and the learning center. And we do have a schedule for that that's sort of similar to tonight, that's on our website, including all kinds of information about this. So feel free to check that out as well and register for either one of those or both. Thank you again, and I hope you all have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. Thank you, math department.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, math department.